A huge wolf offers the girl, whose name is Satsuki Mochizuka, to buy a mountain. He has a special offer for her, to buy the mountain for just $1 million. It turned out to be a strange dream. The girl woke up in a sleeping bag and realized that it was just a dream. She understood that she had woken up in nature. Satsuki had long dreamed of going on a nature hike. The girl climbed out of the tent and stretched. She was surprised that it was already mid-March, but it was still very cold outside. Despite everything, Satsuki was happy to have gotten out into nature. Her life could not be called hard, but the reasons to escape the city were more than serious. The first was extra work that her boss dumped on her because the new worker could not finish everything during the workday. Her boyfriend, with whom they had been dating for about 5 years, told her on a date that their relationship had to end because he had found someone else. This did not inspire any additional optimism in the girl. For Satsuki, the hike became the only way to escape reality and hide from the problems of the outside world. She loudly shouted her emotions at the boss and at her ex, who turned out to be quite a scoundrel. Soon Satsuki forgot about the problems and completely immersed herself in chores that were pleasant for her, because they concerned only her. At the moment, she devoted herself entirely to preparing a luxurious breakfast. She learned this from videos on the internet. In reality, it turned out to be not as easy as it was in theory. But at the same time, this time truly served as a breath of fresh air from the troubles of external life. Satsuki was pleasantly surprised by the results of her work. She decided that even at home she would cook similar food because even ordinary bread turned out to be so tasty after cooking over the fire. The girl rested on a folding bed, enjoying how nature was flourishing around and how beautiful life was in the world. Problems and worries receded into the background and became something unimportant and trivial. The rest soon ended. The girl said goodbye to the man who owned the camping site. She told him how much she liked it here and promised to return because she really liked living in nature. Already in the city, at work, Satsuki realized how much she liked the rest in nature, even though she had prepared for it very quickly and hastily. This time she would definitely go much longer and much farther from civilization. In her free time from work and house chores, the girl watched videos on the internet about survival in the wild and cooking food in conditions of complete absence of civilization's comforts. Next time she will prepare much better. A phone call interrupted her thoughts. It was her mother calling. The girl was surprised, as she had not spoken to her for a long time. Their relationship had always been tense, but everything changed recently. It was then that the mother, not waiting long after the father's death, remarried a younger man. This time Satsuki realized she had never loved her mother and now decided to stop communicating with her altogether. The new mother's husband had a daughter. She was 10 years younger than Satsuki. The mother loved her more and paid little attention to her own daughter. She did not expect this from her mother but endured it. Soon the girl was completely ignored by her mother and spent more time alone. She was not haunted by loneliness, but she felt no better because of it. And as soon as school ended, Satsuki left the house. To enter the university, the girl borrowed money from her paternal grandfather and grandmother. They gladly helped their granddaughter, as they suspected her problems and failures in life. The elders were completely on her side. The elderly supported their granddaughter, and it was thanks to their efforts that she completed her studies and found a good job. Grandfather and grandmother were proud of her and always happy when she came to their little house. A bad feeling began to gnaw at Satsuki when she saw who was calling her. She did not want to talk to her mother. However, she simply did not dare not to do it, because something was still flickering inside her. The mother, without unnecessary greetings or words, put the girl before the fact. Coco was supposed to come to the city with her friends over the weekend, so they would spend the night at her place. Satsuki had to put aside all her plans and prepare for the guests. The girl objected, saying that she has work on the weekend and she won't be able to, and also does not want to spend her free time sitting next to her recently hated stepsister. Satsuki fell onto the bed. She was having a hysterical fit. What oppressed her the most was the injustice that always raged around her. Even now, her mother placed her stepsister first, not her own daughter. Life troubles and injustice weighed on the girl's nerves, and she decided to go on a hike to avoid seeing her sister. Since then, she almost every weekend went camping in nature. The expenses were also large, but only this allowed her to feel positive emotions. More and more often she recalled the dream she had seen. Now she would definitely be ready, driven by emotions, to buy a mountain and live there. The courier informed Satsuki about the package he delivered to her by homophone. The girl was initially confused because she had not ordered anything. The products in the box indicated that the package was sent to her by her grandfather and grandmother. Vegetables and fruits became the basis for the girl's further culinary experiments. Each time she thanked her grandfather and grandmother for taking care of her and simply for being there. But soon they died. The girl could not find peace from the realization that her last close relatives had died. As it turned out, grandfather and grandmother died in the field. They lost consciousness from the heat, and there was simply no one nearby. Satsuki's heart was breaking from grief and pain. Aunt Satsuki, who also came to the funeral, called the girl for a serious talk. The woman behaved very gently and tenderly with the girl, as she knew about her life tragedy and understood the scale of loss for her. Aunt handed her the envelope and informed her that the money Satsuki returned as a debt was collected by grandfather and grandmother, who kept adding to that amount, and a considerable sum had accumulated there. The girl was grateful. After all, she did not know about the existence of this money, and her aunt could have taken it all for herself. Satsuki could not hold back and started crying. She could not believe that someone could do something like that for her. Satsuki returned home tired. Now she had 3 million money, but she did not feel happy. The girl received messages on her phone from her mother, boss, and unfortunate fiancé. The only solution was to set out on a journey so that no one would bother her anymore. It was in nature that Satsuki hoped to regain peace of mind and rest, to break away from everything happening around her. She arrived at the very place where she had been for the first time. It seemed that everything here was the same as the first time. The trip became her salvation from losing her mind at home because of annoying people. When the girl finally approached the administrator, he gladly informed her that he had been waiting for her for a long time. Satsuki was surprised by this. The man's behavior was also strange. He assured her that they had been waiting for her for a long time, and the moment had come. The administrator assured that he had something interesting for her, and asked her not to be afraid, but to trust completely. Satsuki would not regret spending time to visit an amazing place. After a few minutes, they were already driving through the forest on the road. The girl was nervous because she had not warned anyone before setting off into the mountains with a barely known man whom she had seen twice and trusted. The girl followed this guide's car, and they entered a dark tunnel. Satsuki could only guess what awaited her on the other side of the passage. The girl's imagination painted a luxury hotel and a campsite where specially trained people would take care of her, and where it would be incredibly beautiful because she would be on a high plateau full of plants and beautiful landscapes. The girl was confused when she saw the place they had arrived at. She expected something else, but it turned out not even to be a campsite. Most likely it resembled a survival camp. Although Satsuki's optimism did not let her give up. She saw a place for a camp and began to think that it was worth setting up camp there. Her thoughts were interrupted by the guide. He asked the girl with interest if she liked this area. After all, this mountain was very good for purchasing. Satsuki was surprised, and the guide reminded her that they had already talked about this. The girl could not fully understand what was being talked about. Meanwhile, the man introduced himself. His name was Inari Hasashi, and he was entrusted with managing this place. He handed an envelope to the surprised guest. Suddenly she saw a huge white wolf in front of her, which she had previously seen in a dream. A sudden realization dawned on her. It was not a wolf, but the same fox that had come to Satsuki in a dream. The fox held a sheet of paper in its paws, which turned out to be a contract. The spirit asked if Satsuki was ready to sign the contract, as that was exactly why she had come to this place again. She liked it. Hasashi raised his paw and assured that it was worth agreeing and everything would be fine. The girl did not know what to answer. She raised her hand, and according to the fox, this was supposed to be a gesture of agreement. The beast saw that it could lose a prospective buyer and offered a bribe. He showed that there was a bathhouse and a toilet in this place. He would help her organize everything else. Satsuki hesitated. The girl smiled and asked if this was really a new dream. In her opinion, it was worth waking up. The fox asked anxiously if everything was all right with Satsuki, as her behavior was very strange. The girl said that she found it really strange. After all, a person had turned into a fox who could speak. There was a toilet and a bathhouse suddenly appearing in the middle of the forest, so she could think of nothing else. Hasashi understood what was being talked about. He explained that this mountain was located in another world, not usual for people. The girl had arrived here with his help. So many things were possible here that one would not believe. The fox also added that in this dimension there were completely different laws, not usual for that reality. Satsuki asked if she had really died. The fox wondered if she had not come for him by herself. Hasashi pointed to the tunnel through which they had arrived, and said that it was through it that the girl could leave this world. She understood that it was not a trap, as she had thought at first. So maybe it was worth trying. Hasashi looked at her carefully and understood her hesitation. And Satsuki asked why she was the one offered to buy the whole mountain. After all, there were many more clients and interested parties. The fox explained that this mountain had long had no owner, and it was now in such a deplorable condition. If an owner who agreed to take care of it was not found soon, it would finally fall into ruin. So Hisashi asked her to settle in this place and bring life back to this mountain, and to all for whom it had become a home. And the fox believed that only she was capable of this. She immediately pleased him and earned his trust. The fox took human form and again became a friendly administrator. He added that they would talk about it more after resting, as he thought he had rushed with such a serious proposal. Evening came. Satsuki was cooking food over the fire and thinking about Hisashi's proposal. She asked herself if she wanted to return to her own world. Doubts were growing. She had almost no relatives left. The girl did not value her job, as it did not bring much money, and she could return to reality through that mysterious tunnel. Satsuki was worried and thought about what to do. Fear and doubts overwhelmed her, but at the same time she was curious. So it was worth just spending the night with this thought and answering Hisashi in the morning. In the morning, Hisashi returned. He smiled as always, and immediately after greeting asked what the girl had decided. She was silent for a moment and then replied that she agreed to the proposal. When she answered yes, energy swirled around her, and the girl began to feel uplifted, something that had never happened to her before. She felt the energy overflowing within her, and this place became increasingly welcoming. Thus Satsuki Matsuzuka, a girl clerk in the real world, transformed into the ruler of an entire mountain after the proposal of the fox god. She has not regretted it even once so far. After this, Satsuki stopped communicating with her mother and ex-boyfriend. She simply understood what was a priority for her in this case, and what was worth paying attention to. She must live her own life alone. She also did not have to worry about money. Hisashi promised that for managing the mountain she would be paid 200,000 yen every month. So she immediately placed her resignation letter on the manager's desk. The girl felt uplifted and cheerful like never before. She sensed that life from this moment would shine with new colors and become almost carefree in terms of various trivial problems of another existence. Hisashi met Satsuki near the mountain. He asked if the girl realized that from now on she is the mistress of the mountain. He added that she can use the camping address for communication and mail. The girl was surprised, as it looked more like an ordinary move. However, Hisashi assured her that soon she would think completely differently. For her, he also prepared a container with venison and wild boar meat, as well as several packs of rice crackers. He emphasized that it is worth preparing the products as quickly as possible and consuming them. Finally, Hisashi handed the girl a tablet. He explained that with the help of this tablet she would be able to control the mountain. Satsuki did not understand what he was talking about, but the fox promised to explain how to use it. On the tablet she saw several icons. They were intuitively understandable, but the little figure of a man with a pointer explained the meaning of each of them. There were apps for storing loot, for construction, and for clearing the area. She can use and improve them after mastering the mountain and earning points for it. It is advisable to accumulate points for work such as cleaning the mountain of grass and caring for the springs. Hisashi explained that the more the girl takes care of the mountain, the more she will be able to live comfortably in this place and arrange her own home with new technologies and benefits. At this, Hisashi finished his story, as usual smiling. He asked if the girl understood everything he told her. She nodded approvingly. But after a minute, she asked how long he would talk about games. After all, it is worth finding out how to really manage the mountain in this world. The smile gradually disappeared from the man's face. The man explained that he wanted to show her everything in practice. So when there was a misunderstanding of the situation, the girl should demonstrate the principle of the system's operation, using his example. For this, he will show his own work. The subject of his demonstration was building a house. At first, Hisashi showed where to start the work. For this, he chose the type of house and found out what was needed for it. The system indicated that the first step would be clearing the plot. The corresponding command, after pressing the button, caused trees in the relevant area to begin falling and being cut down. After that, the fox sent the wood that was harvested to the storage. There it would lie until the necessary moment. The girl was surprised because the trees suddenly disappeared somewhere. The next step was building a small house using the builder function. And in the place where trees recently grew, a small house appeared. For Satsuki, this seemed like a manifestation of magic. Out of surprise, she opened her mouth wide and asked her interlocutor how this was possible. He said that even more incredible things can be done in this dimension, and the mistress of the mountain will be able to do even more. Hisashi carefully watched the girl. He liked her reaction. The girl asked him if she could also do everything just as easily, to which she received assurance that everything would be fine. The fox, in the form of an administrator, said that from today, this tablet is her tool. Here, she can build almost anything. Just for a start, it is worth trying. She hesitantly took the tablet, feeling a slight warmth. Familiar command fields appeared on the screen. but now they looked livelier, reacting to every movement of her finger. Satsuki held her breath. The comrade showed how to select materials, how to set construction points, how to confirm the creation of an object. Without special knowledge, she could easily handle construction and other tasks. The girl took a breath, carefully ran her finger across the screen, and the world before her flashed. A wooden house, which Satsuki had dreamed of since childhood, became available for construction. She was already imagining how she would relax in the living room of her own little house. The girl's eyes lit up with desire, but she clearly understood that she needed to earn extra points for this. Satsuki jumped for joy. It was still hard for her to realize that she had received such a wonderful gift from fate. She didn't notice how she shouted about her dream. Hasashi looked skeptically. He did not want to upset the girl, but informed her that such a house was not yet available to her. Satsuki was embarrassed and could not believe that she had rejoiced so quickly, and that nothing would work out for her. Hasashi explained that it was worth developing the material warehouse first. After all, there was very little storage space there now. Large construction materials could not be stored there. The storage space could be expanded through local area exploration. Thus, the level of the warehouse itself would develop and increase, and over time she would be able to build her dream. The girl enthusiastically got to work. First, she studied the map to orient herself. Her attention was drawn to a spring, so the first task was to lay a path to fresh water. Satsuki independently began clearing the path using a small scythe, with which she mowed grass and cleared the path to make it suitable for passage to the spring. But even despite her efforts, when the girl looked back, she saw that she had actually done not that much. So it was worth taking a break, because at this pace she would not accomplish much. Satsuki lay down to rest, placing the tablet beside her. She really wanted to see how many points she had earned, but she did not like the result. She could not believe she had earned only 6 points. She realized that she would not earn much this way, and she even got angry because she thought that she would spend a lot of time on the wooden house. But she needed to live somewhere. Evening came and Satsuki decided to take a bath. There was nothing better than taking a bath and relaxing after hard work. The hot water was ready at the moment, no need to heat it. Satsuki wondered where the hot water could be coming from here, since there were no thermal springs nearby. It seemed strange to her, but knowing she was in another world, she decided not to think about it. After the bath, the mountain mistress decided to try the game that Hasashi gave her. She remembered everything she had seen on the internet and began preparing food for herself. Life seemed idyllic. She liked the dinner. The meat exceeded all her expectations. The girl thought that it was worth thanking Hasashi for the ingredients during their next meeting. A delicious and hearty dinner was finished with a pleasant drink, after which Satsuki decided to completely relax and momentarily disconnect from unnecessary thoughts. Everything around seemed so strange. Her heart was pounding wildly. Everything around was at once familiar and alien. The sky too bright, the trees too tall, and the air seemed to sparkle. For an ordinary person used to living in ordinary reality, everything around might seem strange and uncertain. After all, Satsuki now lives on a purchased mountain, helped by a fox god who pays her a salary. To everything, it was worth adding a magical tablet that builds everything by itself and helps store supplies and organize them in the warehouse. Life at this stage seemed ideal and very successful to her. Above her, a great serpent watched. He looked at the newcomer with interest. He was an ordinary inhabitant of the mountain, but his intentions were certainly not friendly. The serpent was not pleased with the newcomer. The next day, Satsuki decided to visit the town near the mountain to buy groceries and supplies of necessary items for the first time. The girl took advantage of the opportunity to move around. Remembering how she cleared the grass with her hands and scythe, and how little she managed to do, the girl decided that her next purchase should be something that would help deal with the grass. So her attention was drawn to the brush cutter. Such expenses will be justified for her. The girl will be able to earn more by quickly tidying up the mountain she now owns. The next step after returning home for Satsuki was installing solar panels to charge gadgets and try to convert the scythe to electric power. Quickly reading the instructions, the girl realized she had done the right thing, as her purchase could use alternative energy sources. While the charger was working, Satsuki decided to carry all the purchases from the car to her home. She had a lot to carry, as her purchases did not end with the scythe. The owner of the mountain bought an electric saw and other tools powered by electricity. Additionally, her new acquisition was a portable battery. The tools were meant to help her tidy up the inside of the house faster, and at the same time earn extra points for it. The only thing holding her back was the long charging time of the electric batteries. The battery signaled. The girl noticed that information appeared on the screen indicating that everything was already charged. This became another miracle in this dimension, and it was no longer surprising. Using the brush cutter, Satsuki realized that this way she would handle everything much faster. At this pace, she would quickly manage everything, and then she would take on a new task. In the girl's plans, an idea was born to make a path using the Builder app. After all, in the future, she would be able to move around her possessions by car. Days came filled with work, which sometimes, mostly in the evening, was interrupted by rest and relaxation. She cooked food for herself, took baths, and rested for a long time in nature. Looking at the map on the tablet, the girl realized that she could reach the spring tomorrow. The road to it was almost finished. Her joy was interrupted by a noise coming from somewhere nearby. Her attention was drawn to bushes not far from her. Someone was clearly there. Curiosity overcame fear, and the girl decided to see what was there. After all, the noise did not cause any negative emotions. When she looked into the bushes, she was immensely surprised and pleasantly impressed by what she saw. Two little dogs, still puppies, were playing among the bushes. They were frolicking and playing, not paying attention to anyone or anything around. Satsuki's eyes lit up with the desire to tame these animals. They were so carefree and would make a wonderful company for the mountain mistress. After all, she was gradually feeling lonely. The dogs saw that someone was watching them from the bushes and ran to their hiding place. Satsuki called them. They also showed interest in the person, but were afraid to leave their unreliable shelter and watched the girl who had knelt down and was calling them. Finally, one of them approached with cautious steps. The dog had a fringe on its head, and it was very carefully and delicately approaching the girl, who did not radiate any threat. The dogs looked at each other and jointly decided to trust the uninvited guest, which pleasantly surprised their new mistress. The dogs trusted her and began licking her hand, but just as quickly they ran away. Satsuki looked after her new friends with regret and wished they would return to her soon. Evening came, and sitting in the folding chair, the girl evaluated the points she had earned while making a path to the stream. She was pleasantly surprised at how quickly she managed to accumulate the necessary points. Satsuki immediately directed the earned points to improving the shelter, as now it could store wood and boards needed for building the house. The shelter's volume expanded to 3 cubic meters. The mountain mistress was as happy as a little child. The goal of building the house no longer seemed so distant. After all, now she could organize the storage of the necessary materials. In the morning, Satsuki faced another challenge. She realized that the source was right in front of her, but it was at a height. In front of the girl was a tall cliff, and she needed to lay a path there. The girl began thinking about how to overcome the sudden obstacle. A good option was to dig out the slope, but this function was not yet available. Then Satsuki decided to do the opposite. She will use the embankment to climb the mountain. It was easier to pile up and cut the soil than to dig up the entire slope. Moreover, it would have to be done by hand and with tools manually. After some time, combining various teams, Satsuki managed to dig up the slope and even make stairs in it, which was a very good idea. She was curious about how many points she would get for the work done. It turned out to be a fairly good but also long climb up the mountain. But for Satsuki, it was no longer such a huge challenge as it seemed at first. She proudly climbed the mountain. There she saw that the spring was gushing right from the rock. The appearance of the rock itself also surprised her a little, but the water turned out to be surprisingly clean and pleasant to taste, so another task was completed. Satsuki couldn't resist and scooped up a whole handful of water. It was very tasty, especially after hard physical work that was supposed to tire the girl. However, she felt the opposite, an unprecedented surge of energy. The girl was very fascinated by how everything around the spring was arranged. She did not notice how a dark shadow crept up on her. Behind her stood someone very tall and large. The uninvited guest was a huge serpent. He looked cunningly at the girl, trying to think through his next move. And Satsuki still did not pay attention to the sudden guest, rejoicing in her success. Still, noticing the strange shadow behind her, she turned around and saw a monster behind her. The girl did not think about running away, as she understood that she would not succeed. The serpent widely opened its jaws and attacked Satsuki. The girl looked confused at the creature of such size and did not know how to act. Fear paralyzed her brain and body, pinning her to the spot. Suddenly, the puppies that the girl had recently petted jumped out to defend their new friend. They tried to bite the attacker and partially succeeded. The serpent began to twist, trying to shake off the defenders of the poor frightened girl, and the dogs raged even more. They saw their advantage and acted even more actively. Finally, the opponent fled into the forest. He looked back fearfully to see if the puppies were chasing him. They just looked angrily after the serpent. Their bravery saved Satsuki's life. One of the puppies tried to chase the enemy, but the girl stopped him. She did not want the defenders to get lost in the dark forest near the dangerous animal. On top of everything, one of the puppies was indeed injured by the snake's fangs. Satsuki held the poor thing in her arms and wondered what to do next. After all, she was a bad veterinarian. She took the puppy in her arms and asked his companion what to do next. After all, it was unlikely she would find a veterinary clinic or even a pharmacy somewhere in the forest. The only option was to take the injured one to the camp. Satsuki called another puppy after her. He tried with all his might not to fall behind the girl, and the rescuer herself tried to run as fast as possible to her camp to find salvation there. Soon she was looking through her things for something that could help with poisoning or a snake bite. The puppy lay in the tent and his companion guarded him closely. Soon both were cuddling and wanted to play with Satsuki. The girl was happy that she managed to save the little one from death. On top of that was the gratitude for the rescue. She had to tame them no matter what. Satsuki petted both puppies. They were as happy as she was. It seemed that they were also looking for company to be able to live with someone and enjoy life. The injured puppy was even more active than before the attack of the assailant. He was very strong and bigger than his little brother. The girl thought that they were no longer inseparably connected to each other. A strange sound attracted the attention of the girl and her new friends. The dogs pricked up their ears and looked in the direction of the strange noise. The girl did the same. Soon, one of the puppies pulled the girl by the t-shirt. She did not know what to do. They could hardly lead her to a place that was dangerous for her or for them together. Soon, she herself was following the puppies, as they clearly wanted to show her something very much. So she went after them, hoping that nothing threatened their strange company. In the clearing, two large dogs, just like her little companions, held in their teeth the same snake that attacked her. The puppy family avenged the fact that the creature tried to harm their son. There was no doubt that it was a family. The girl was 100% convinced of this. The little dogs played with the big ones, and everyone was happy as if that was all they wanted from life. One of the big dogs nudged the snake toward the girl with its nose. She was sure that they were giving this big reptile to her. Satsuki thanked them, but did not know what to do with the creature's body next. The dogs, meanwhile, went in their own direction. The girl thought it was not worth chasing them, since they most likely were returning to their home. So Satsuki just said goodbye to them. The girl carefully examined the huge snake. She still could not believe that in this world animals reach such enormous sizes. Satsuki had lived here for 2 months, but still had not gotten used to this wonder. It was time for lunch, and Satsuki was setting up her portable table to prepare food and eat outside, as the weather was very nice. But she still managed to hear footsteps behind her. After a moment, only 2 legs and a couple of little tails with paws were visible from the grass. The puppies licked the girl and showed all kinds of affection towards her. Satsuki was happy that these 2 pets treated her so well. She liked that they were so energetic. She was very lucky because she found such nice friends in this world. Together with them, she felt safe and was pleasantly surprised by how attached they had become to her. Every day the dogs came to Satsuki. They became her inseparable partners. One day the girl checked the contents of the refrigerator and realized that all the food had spoiled. A tablet came to the rescue. An interesting idea occurred to Satsuki. For this, it is worth trying to use the functions available for her extra points. Clearing space for the garden was a very good idea. The accumulated points were supposed to allow installing a new application, since clearing was not part of the basic functions. So the idea of engaging in agriculture arose naturally. There was no need to be surprised or doubt its adequacy, as there was plenty of suitable land around. The place for Satsuki's garden was chosen not far from the camp. It was a plot right in the middle of her settlement. The puppies were running around and playing, and the girl was preparing to try the tablet for creating the garden. The choice of crops for planting was impressive in its diversity, so it was worth choosing a successful crop, as the amount of seed and territory would still be limited according to the system's requirements. Choosing without good knowledge of botany or other plant sciences was very difficult. It was necessary to compare the indicators of each crop. But still, until one plants it oneself, one learns nothing about plants. To begin, Satsuki chose a plot and decided how she needed to plant the garden. After that, it is worth considering the choice of the desired crop. After this, she chose the garden beds and the amount of seeds to plant those beds. The girl even began to like what she was doing, only confirming her choice remained. After the extra points were deducted, the girl saw before her a garden bed that had broken at the place she had chosen for so long, and soon the sprouts of plants became visible. Emotions overwhelmed the girl. After all, she just chose a place and seeds for the garden. In reality, life was much harder. She knew this because she often helped her grandfather in the garden. The next step, which she can do herself without involving the system, was watering the crops. For this, it is necessary to find a bucket to use it for watering. Suddenly she noticed that she was standing in the middle of a puddle. The water appeared as if by itself. The dogs were also surprised, but they were not inclined to panic. Satsuki, however, thought that her garden beds would be damaged by the water, and there was no need to be afraid. The girl saw that the water remained in place. Later, a spring formed in that spot. It was neatly made of small stones, beautifully laid out. Satsuki began to fear this luck. She did not expect everything to turn out so well with the city. She did not want to lose optimism, but everything was going too well, and surely someone was spying on her. But she still decided to use the water regardless of its origin. The girl would water her garden beds and await the first harvest, which according to the realities of this world, was soon to appear. The puppies joined Satsuki, who was watering the plants and humming along so they would grow faster and be tasty. She did not believe it would help, but it was worth trying despite everything. The next morning, right from waking up, Satsuki was expecting a pleasant and amazing surprise. When the girl looked at her garden, she noticed that all the vegetables had grown as if they had been planted not yesterday but many months ago. The mountain's mistress herself believed that this could not be true even for this strange world. When Satsuki pulled out the potato bush, she noticed that the fruits were already fully ripe and could be eaten. Satsuki thought that at this rate she could provide herself with food regardless of the season. She assessed her harvest and thought she could share it with Hasashi, whom she would soon visit. The administrator greeted her quite warmly. He asked what brought the girl to his inn, and Satsuki started talking right away about needing chickens. She promised to pay for them or give a portion of the harvest. The man said that in this case he could not help at all, since animals from the normal dimension cannot enter Satsuki's domain, but he promised that he would definitely come up with something. The girl rejoiced. She believed that if the divine fox promised, he would definitely fulfill what he said. Meanwhile, Hasashi asked how she lived on the mountain. The girl answered honestly. She liked it, but there were certain things she still wasn't used to. Some things embarrassed her, some scared her and made her think bad thoughts. The girl shared her progress regarding clearing and construction using apps on the tablet. Hasashi was only happy about her successes. However, when the conversation turned to growing plants, he became confused. The girl said that by morning her harvest was ready to eat. Even Hasashi could not explain this. After all, the tablet simply did not have the corresponding function, and the plant growth was supposed to be close to natural. The administrator believed that it was the work of the grateful spirits of the mountain, who take care of protecting the mountain. They are thankful for the care of their habitat and always help those who responsibly fulfill their duties. Hasashi explained to the girl that in both worlds everything surrounding people and animals exists only thanks to the spirits of nature. They are not always kind to humans, but they never have evil intentions and do not try to harm deliberately. The man emphasized that the spirits accepted the girl and would henceforth be kind to her for her efforts. Satsuki wanted to ask if magic exists in such a case. After all, the existence of spirits indicates such a possibility. Hasashi smiled and explained that the very essence of the tablet is magical, as all its functionality is possible thanks to supernatural abilities. Their conversation was supposed to end there. The administrator promised at the end to come up with something to bring her chickens to the mountain. The girl thanked him for his care and once again was convinced of the correctness of her choice regarding the purchase of the mountain. After the girl returned, she completely immersed herself in household chores. The first thing was to harvest and preserve it. The dogs helped her, but they did not always succeed in helping. Sometimes they got in the way. After that, Satsuki started installing garden lanterns. The girl thought it would be a very good idea because even at night she would not be afraid of the dark and would feel safe. At night on the mountain it was very dark, and Satsuki was afraid. She was scared that someone might sneak up to her camp in the darkness. So with lanterns, Satsuki would feel more confident and comfortable. A car was entering the camp. It was Hasasha's car. The girl could only guess why the administrator had come to her so quickly. The man opened the trunk and explained that he had brought chickens. Satsuki was very grateful. She had no idea what Hasashi had to do to deliver the animals to her. The girl asked what she owed the admin, as she currently had no cash. He reassured her that he did not need money and explained it was his gift because Satsuki works hard for all the mountain residents. The man asked where the girl would keep the chickens, to which she replied that she was about to build a chicken coop. Satsuki had already grabbed a tablet and started developing the chicken coop construction algorithm. Hasashi was pleasantly surprised that the girl had made such significant progress in this direction in such a short time. He was sure that the mountain had fallen into the hands of a good master. But she had not yet learned to see the main thing. Around the girl everywhere, in the air and on the ground, there were many amazing creatures, from afar resembling people. But they were only similar. They were spirits who lived on the mountain, and they were very grateful to the hostess. This time the girl's spirits were charging the battery. They released the power of the sun and immediately filled the device's battery. They were ready for anything to keep their lady satisfied and gratefully caring for their home. The water spirits promised to make the water more pleasant and useful for the lady, and for the plants she watered with this water. The spirits took care of the garden altogether. They carefully examined the harvest and promised to put in as much effort as possible, so that the plants would grow and yield a crop as quickly as possible. Hasashi was pleased with the result. The girl was able to gather so many helper spirits around her in such a short time, who were ready to do everything in their power for her. Special attention was deserved by the garden lanterns that Satsuki installed, so that it would not be dark at night, as she was still afraid of unknown guests, mysterious inhabitants of the mountain who could come under the cover of night. But in fact, the lanterns became a kind of barrier. Hasashi saw something like this for the first time. He expected something similar, but this time he did not foresee such a result in such a short time. Satsuki was working on the tablet. The spirits were around her. Some even sat on her shoulders. Lord Ignos became interested in the girl. After all, she was not an ordinary person, and could do a lot for nature. The creation of the chicken coop was almost complete, and Hasashi carefully observed what was happening. He warned her that the girl did not notice many things around her, but the time would come and she would uncover all the secrets of the mountain for herself. Several months had passed since the purchase of the mountain. The summer heat had ended, and the autumn coolness was gradually setting in. Satsuki had been mastering the land all this time, and accumulating points for the development of a storage for supplies and materials. One autumn day, Satsuki shouted joyfully. The dogs near her also behaved strangely. They rejoiced with her because in front of them stood a beautiful wooden house that the girl had dreamed of for so long. Satsuki enjoyed the house. It was very comfortable there, and even had all the benefits of civilization, which she had not thought about before creating it. The girl was already beginning to get used to the wonders and marvels of this mountain. Satisfied with her work, Satsuki fell onto the bed and fell asleep with a smile. After prolonged labor, she had the right to rest and relax. The spirit visited the administration of Kasasha. The man inquired about Satsuki's condition, to which the spirit assured that the girl was making incredible progress. The fox assured that he expected nothing less from the former saint. The spirit asked the interlocutor if he considered it necessary to tell the girl about the past. The fox replied that there was no need for that at the moment. When the need arises, he will tell everything. He saw how his ward was playing with the puppies and enjoying life. So there is no urgent need now to disturb her peace and interfere with her pleasant time. Lise emphasized that in the past world, the girl had already suffered greatly from human relationships. The blessing of Inari there always turns into something bad, so let Satsuki live blessed here. The spirit assured that in the world he created, everything would be fine with the girl. He was even ready to give guarantees. The fox joked that even in such a form of the spirit, he could see his confident smile. The fox assured that people themselves are also capable of much, especially regarding the tablet in which technological genius and magic, gifted by spirits to humans for their own peace and existence, were embodied. The appearance of Satsuki's car interrupted the conversation. The girl seemed to sense that the two spirits were talking about her, so the conversation should continue later, when everything becomes more or less clear. From now on, all the worries passed to Kasasha. He was the one determined to ensure Satsuki rested and could distract herself from anxious thoughts. The girl announced right from the doorstep that she had done what she had long dreamed of. She had finished building the house of her dreams. She simply radiated with happiness and was ready to share it. Kasashi could only praise the girl. The man was happy for her and also praised her achievements. The girl thanked him for the support. She was ready to discuss her own successes for a long time, but suddenly noticed something. Kasashi was packing things into boxes. It seemed like the administrator was about to leave somewhere. When asked what happened, he said that the vacation season was over and he was closing the camping site until spring. He added that there is a lot of snow here in winter, and it is rarely possible to get here in winter, as the roads are covered with snow. The tunnel will also be closed, so Satsuki will be cut off from the whole world all winter. The girl only now realized that she needed to stock up on food and supplies. It was also worth taking care of firewood and fuel to keep warm on cold winter evenings. Unfortunately, the girl used up all the trees she had cut down on her dream house. So now she faced the task of preparing new wood supplies. She did not expect her vacation to end so quickly. Hasashi reminded her that she was not obliged to use the shelter provided by the tablet. She could build a regular shed or something similar and store all the necessary survival supplies there. The man promised that while she was preparing the shelter, he would help her with gathering firewood and combustible supplies. She thanked him for the support and assured that she would manage everything before winter. At first, she wanted to buy firewood herself, but when she saw the price, she realized it was better to learn to prepare it herself, as she would not fit into her budget. So her first important purchase was an axe, with which she planned to chop and split firewood. Added to everything was the fear that she would not know how much firewood she would need to spend this winter in the mountains. A detailed survey of the area indicated that it was possible to use the mountain slope to build a shelter for firewood and other equipment she had accumulated. The dogs followed her closely. The girl remembered watching a TV show where one of the women, who also lived in nature, used a natural adit to store food and supplies in the absence of a refrigerator. The girl was confused because she did not know what to do. Fortunately, Hasashi arrived and brought firewood supplies. The girl asked what she owed him, to which she received the answer that everything was absolutely free for her. The man asked her not to think too much and to consider his kindness a pleasant bonus to everything. His attention was drawn to the dogs, who considered him a stranger and did not accept him as one of their own. Hasashi was confused. The administrator asked the girl if she guessed who her pets were. She asked if dogs in this world were really so different from ordinary dogs. Hasashi assured her that these were not just dogs. She befriended the puppies of the white magical wolf, which usually only a few manage to do, as these animals have a very angry temper and are difficult to get along with other animals. People in general are rarely mentioned. Hasashi suggested to her after a brief acquaintance to pet the puppies. After all, they themselves were not against her doing so. So without much thought, she petted the animals and offered them food. The puppies also ran up to the mistress of the mountain and threw themselves into her arms. She was pleased that in such a short time she already had friends in this world. The administrator asked if Satsuki had managed to give names to her favorites. She looked at him confused and assured that she had not even thought about it, as she did not consider it necessary. The puppies could leave at any moment. The man assured her that these animals are known for their loyalty and will never leave those to whom they already feel sympathy or simply pleasant emotions. So they now had no choice but to give nicknames to these two little ones. Hasashi emphasized that names should be given to all four animals. From now on, they would be friends and always nearby. Protection and safety would definitely be guaranteed to the girl by the magical wolves. The puppy seemed to understand what the man was saying to Satsuki. He looked attentively into the mistress's eyes and seemed to smile at her. This made her glow. But she could not be distracted. She had to solve an important matter, namely to give names and nicknames to her favorites. She began actively thinking about how to name the magical white wolves so as not to offend them. The boy was named Haku. The girl received the nickname Yuki. It seemed that the names pleased the wolves. They looked attentively at their mistress with gratitude. Giving names turned out to be not so simple. Satsuki named the father Byakuya and the mother Shiratake. The respectable animals took the way they were named more simply. After all, the girl did it with respect to both of them, considering their status. Suddenly, the wolf family shone with a bright glow, so bright that the girl even had to cover her eyes. She was confused, as she did not expect something like this to happen. When she finally opened her eyes, the wolf family was sitting in front of her as if nothing had happened. But Satsuki herself felt something strange. She could not put it into words, but something had changed, some strange feeling. But what surprised her the most was when Byakuya and his wife bowed their heads before Satsuki and spoke to her. The girl realized that she understood what the wolves had been talking to her about. Hasashi greeted Satsuki. He explained that by giving names to the wolves, the girl made them her named animals. She did not fully understand what this could mean and what would now change for her personally. A puppy attacked the girl and wanted to play with her. The important conversation was postponed for later, because right now she simply could not concentrate on what was required of her. It was time to rest. While Satsuki played with the wolf cubs, Byakuya spoke with Hasashi. The wolf reported that the number of monsters around the mountain was increasing every day. This could only mean that the great dragon might be awakening. Vovk was certain that if the dragon learned about the girl, the former saint, he would definitely take the opportunity to harm her. That is why the entire wolf family is not here for no reason. They will defend Satsuki if necessary. The man, in turn, announced his intention to go to the great dragon and talk to him about the mountain and its new mistress. Although he really did not want to do this, he hoped to spend the end of the year with his family. In the morning, Satsuki woke up because someone was trying to open the door to her room. She couldn't immediately understand who could be calling her by name. Then she remembered that she had started to understand the language of magical wolves. Satsuki's dream house was almost ready. It seemed she deserved a rest. But ahead was a harsh winter, according to Hasashi, who clearly knew about it, so the firewood gathering began. Yuki and Haku greeted their mistress. They wanted to help her quickly finish her tasks and get to playing. So they tried to speed up the girl and make her work much more actively. In fact, the girl was very happy that she gave names to the animals, as Mr. Kasashi insisted. From that moment, the younger wolves became her constant companions, and she began to understand their language. The pups became her familiars. Sometimes they could be inappropriate companions, but at moments like mowing the grass, The girl warned them of danger, and they stood aside, not interfering with Satsuki's work. Having resolved the issue with the scythe, the girl used the tablet to put the scythe away in the storage. After that, she surveyed the slope area, which she wanted to use as a future storage for firewood and something else large. Satsuki thought about how to use the firewood to save materials. For this, the girl got the idea to dismantle the old booth and use the wood from it to build a shed. The girl did not know what to do to save materials on fuel. At the same time, the idea arose to use the tablet once again. The accumulated points allowed this, so Satsuki did not hesitate long to move the shed further along the territory she had developed. The girl quickly moved the booth across the territory, and was surprised when she started to succeed. There was no need to even rebuild the shed itself, as the room for storing firewood was already there. At the same time, using the tablet, the girl moved all her fuel supplies from the inventory in the storage to the physical shed. Satsuki also remembered the car. It will have to be used, so a canopy needs to be made for it as well. But first, it is worth thinking about a good reliable shelter for the automobile. Soon, with the help of a tablet, a good spacious wood storage was made in the slope near the house. Next to it stood a shed, which was also used as a supply warehouse. Satsuki went inside. She could not believe that everything had gone so easily for her. She also understood that the temperature in the room was simply perfect. The thought of the spirit's help crept into her mind again and did not leave. The girl jokingly thanked the muses, knowing that no one would actually respond. She laughed at herself and continued to enjoy the fruits of her labor. The spirits rejoiced in their own way. They enjoyed the praise and gratitude of the mistress. So they decided that from this day on, they would work even harder to help the girl and be useful to the mistress of the mountain. The work outside was finished, so the time came to head to the city to replenish food supplies and buy everything necessary to spend the winter comfortably and without any need. Prices and the huge amount of necessary supplies made the girl think that today she would go bankrupt financially. But everything was really necessary for her. In the bread and pastry department, Satsuki thought about how she could bake bread at home, thus saving money. So the next step would be to install an oven for baking at home. In the market, the girl bought everything necessary not only for herself, but also for her pets. Her attention was also drawn to plant seedlings, and Satsuki wondered whether they would take root on the mountain and whether the spirits would like them. The idea of not only growing vegetables but also cultivating fruits seemed appealing to her. So Satsuki decided it was worth taking the risk since she basically had nothing to lose. She liked shopping. The funds arrived on time, and if managed wisely, the girl could live on her own account for a long time and stock up on supplies for the harshest winter. The girl also remembered that she should visit Mr. Kasashi to collect the firewood he had prepared for her. Besides, she needed to find out more information about the mountain and winter in this region. There was no one near the camping site. The girl did not find Mr. Kasashi there, and everything around looked abandoned, as if no one had visited this place for a long time. The first impression was wrong. Satsuki saw Mr. Hasashi. He was dressed in a black business suit, which definitely did not suit the camping manager in nature. But the girl did not ask unnecessary questions. The fox was not in the mood to talk for long, so he immediately asked what exactly brought the girl to him. She promptly explained that she came for the firewood he had promised her, and Hasashi gladly agreed to load the car. The firewood barely fit into the truck bed. The girl joked that a tablet and its functions would be useful right now. The man agreed, as it would be appropriate to use such functionality. Kasashi carefully examined what the girl had bought in the store. He wondered if she could really consume it all by herself. Satsuki explained that she did not know the winter on the mountain, so she would try to prepare as much as possible. In response to the question of whether there will be enough firewood for the winter, Kasashi advised using it sparingly, as the girl might miscalculate at first. But it is always worth replenishing fuel supplies at the slightest opportunity. Kasashi carried out a box of groceries for Satsuki. The girl was very happy because she had now begun to appreciate what is given just like that, as these are extra supplies on which her life depends in winter, on the mountain that is hard to reach. The man said he had specially prepared a set of products that can be stored for a long time and do not spoil. The girl sincerely thanked him for the support. The fox promised to visit her again before winter comes. On the way home, Satsuki thought that the man was going to visit someone. Judging by his clothes, it must have been a business meeting, and the tension with which he behaved indicated that he had to visit his boss. Kasashi carefully watched the mountain. He felt a certain discomfort from what he saw. The mountain was quiet and empty, and the summit was already covered with snow and ice. A dragon lay in the den. It was with him that Mr. Kasashi was supposed to speak, which, to be honest, he really did not want to do. The dragon understood that the guest had come specifically to him. The creature was still deciding whether to speak with Kasashi or pretend to be asleep. He He liked the second option better. The fox knew that this dragon was not sleeping, but still he ran around him and shouted loudly to make the master of the mountain wake up. The dragon did not endure for long. It fiercely opened its eye and roared at the uninvited guest. Kasashi did not want trouble, but understood that now it was impossible to get rid of it. The wind rose from the fierce roar of the awakened master. In such a mood, it was even harder to negotiate anything with the dragon, but the man held firm. He asked to be forgiven for the sudden visit, but the matter could not wait. They had to talk about something worth sacrificing extra sleep for. The dragon woke up completely. He carefully looked at the guest and realized that he was not afraid of him at all. The stranger's aura was also different from that of the inhabitants of these places. Kasashi explained that he was indeed from a slightly different dimension and had arrived on an important mission. The fox told that the great saint had reincarnated and was now in the body of Satsuki Matsuzuki, and in that dimension he was considered a god. The dragon remembered the times when the Holy Virgin and the dragon himself were good friends, with neither the difference in age nor species standing in their way. Everyone around was amazed at how close these two were, and many envied them. The fates of the entire world soon began to depend on these two. When monsters attacked the land of humans, the saints and the dragon stood against the invaders and prevented the creatures from destroying the human race, which they sought to do. In difficult times, the girl went to the people to help them with deeds and advice. Everyone around loved the saint and respected her. And knowing that she was a good friend of the dragon, no one dared to offend her. The saint's popularity troubled her betrothed, the hereditary prince. He accused her of seeking to usurp power by destroying his father the king and getting rid of the prince after the wedding. After accusations that no one wanted to investigate and accepted outright, the holy maiden was sentenced to death. The verdict was delivered very quickly, and no one managed to do anything to prevent it. The dragon, learning about the fate of his friend, became enraged. His fury burned down that kingdom, leaving no one alive. He could not forgive the people for their inaction and indifference. The spirit Ignos understood the seriousness of what was happening. He feared that the dragon would destroy the entire world and offered him a deal. It was based on Ignos trying to return the saint through reincarnation. The dragon, however, calms down and falls into a long sleep. When he wakes up, she will be alive, and they will meet again. The dragon agreed, as he was desperate and ready for many things. Now he received the news that the saint had revived with excitement. He simply could not wait any longer, and ordered to be taken to where his friend was now. A century of sleep made him impatient. The dragon promised that if the man did not take him there now, he would pay with his life, and the mountain lord would find it on his own, to which the fox assured that he would not succeed in doing so. Hasashi explained that in his world people do not leave a magical trace behind, so it would be difficult to find him. The dragon asked how it is possible to survive in this world without magic. He was interested in how Sayata feels and whether she is all right. The fox hurried to calm the dragon. He said that Ignos and his companion are now taking care of her, and the girl does not feel lonely. Right now she is busy preparing for winter. The dragon promised that he would soon visit the girl. Until then, he gave an egg and ordered Kasashi to give it to the girl. The man was confused and asked if it could wait. The interlocutor was seriously angered. He got furious because he could no longer wait for the meeting, and here this man dares to go against his will. Kasashi did not lose composure and promised to do everything in his power. This was a good point to end the conversation. The girl would soon be next to him. Meanwhile, Kasashi was running away because he did not want to risk danger. The dragon did not want to pursue him. He imagined a reunion. The work done opened up the possibility for the girl to further improve her yard. Satsuki wanted to analyze and explore everything, and the approach of winter did not scare her now. The appearance of puppies distracted her from work. They wanted to play with her, and Satsuki was delighted by the arrival of her helpers. They will come in handy to learn about and test the new functionality of her device. She aimed the camera at her assistants, and they froze in place. Soon the system provided all the information about who stood before her and who they were. The Tisksi were a crossbreed of a wolf and Fenrir. Satsuki could not believe that her friends were partly related to the mythical wolf Fenrir, as he was more of a fantasy character or a figure from mythology, but by no means a real beast living in her world. The puppies were happy to play and have fun again, which they initially did with the girl. But Satsuki reminded them that it was worth continuing to prepare for winter, so they would go back to gathering firewood. She explained that drones are necessary so as not to freeze in winter. The girl thought that animals did not know why and for what purpose it was necessary to heat the house. She warned that working with firewood requires great responsibility, as the chainsaw Satsuki will use is a dangerous tool, and she asked her friends to step back so they would not get hurt. The little animals watched closely as Satsuki started the chainsaw. They observed with surprise, having never seen anything like it before. However, they soon felt uneasy from the loud roar of the chainsaw. Haku and Yuki asked her to stop because their sensitive ears were suffering from the loud sound that seemed very bad and impossible to them. They asked how the girl managed to endure it for so long. Father Byakuya rushed onto the clearing. He inquired if everything was all right with his lady and the children. After all, the sound of the saw made him wary. The girl asked him to calm down and not be nervous. Later, she explained to both parents and their children that this is how a chainsaw works. Her intentions were not to scare everyone or make them afraid. But she simply had no other way to prepare firewood. Byakuya asked for permission to help with firewood gathering. He possessed wind magic, so it was not difficult for him to use it to chop firewood and move it to the shed or another place. Satsuki felt uncomfortable asking the wolves for this. But when they decided to help on their own, the girl saw nothing wrong with it, so she eagerly awaited a quick resolution of the matter. The mother of the wolf family asked the mountain ruler if she could pass the harvesting work to her children, thereby aiming to teach them the mastery of wind magic that they themselves had learned at their age. Parents taught the little wolf cubs where to start using magic. In this case, the little ones had to help Satsuki gather firewood, so Byakuya shared how to direct and cut trees using the wind. Meanwhile, the girl decided to plant the plants she had brought with her from the store. She was worried that they would not grow and that she would have to throw them away. But when she started doing it, the doubts disappeared. She quickly finished and spoke to the tree. In this world, many things could happen. She could not understand whether the spirits were truly kind to her, or if she herself was carefully and beautifully doing everything with her efforts. Meanwhile, the wolf helped her. The wolf cubs tried their best, and the firewood flew in all directions. It was clear that the little ones were trying to justify their parents' trust and truly help. Satsuki thought that the wolves were hungry. She prepared sandwiches but decided to ask her parents if children could eat such things. But her hesitation was in vain. The animals immediately liked what the hostess had prepared for them. They simply could not tear themselves away from the food. The smell and appearance seemed very attractive to the wolves, and they decided to ask for more. Byakuya took advantage of being taller than the kids, so he ate everything on the plate. The wolf cubs whined indignantly, accusing their father of eating it all himself and leaving nothing for them. The great wolf felt very well. He paid no attention to the children who were still outraged by his behavior. Instead, the wolf asked, "Could it be that the lady ruler of the mountain has added her magic here too?" Satsuki replied that she had simply sliced the purchased ham, and there was nothing strange about it. But the big wolf assured that he could not believe it. Strength and enthusiasm overwhelmed him. The girl calmed the animals. She said that there was still plenty of beef in the house, and she would slice some more for them now. When she looked at the tablet, there was a message about the effect of food prepared by the saint. Satsuki decided to scroll through another page of the tablet, and saw that around everything she had built, there was a note added that it was created by the saint, and everything had a certain magical effect and gave additional bonuses. For Satsuki herself, this began to turn into some kind of phantasmagoric story. She began to realize what Hasashi had told her about the saint and why he sometimes looked at her so slyly. The girl was actually the reincarnation of the Holy Virgin, who once lived on these lands and was the then ruler of the mountain. That is why Hasashi immediately offered to buy this mountain from her for such relatively small money. The cold was coming. The wolves helped the girl prepare for winter. In breaks between work, Satsuki groomed her favorites. They liked it very much, and sometimes it even came to a confrontation over the place for petting. Even now, Haku and Yuki could not share the spot and decide whose turn it was to be groomed. The girl was happy about their fussing. She had not felt so good for a long time as she did at that moment. True winter came, and the shedding in the wolf pups became even greater. Satsuki was amazed at how much fur was falling out of her favorites. Time passed, and the animals grew every day and became more skillful. Meanwhile, Satsuki was busy with preparations. She learned to bake bread and cook food so as not to depend on the outside world. Wintering still seemed to her something pleasant and not very burdensome. The girl was glad that she had bought this mountain in time. After all, the new year had already come and she welcomed it wonderfully in her little house with delicious mochi, without which she could not imagine the new year. Tasting persimmon, Satsuki wondered if she could try to plant it and grow the fruit. She also remembered that she used to have many seeds. And since plants took root so well, she was ready to try again. It was very cold outside. A real blizzard had broken out. The plan regarding planting plants was postponed indefinitely. But what surprised her was different. Around her little house and yard, there was like a barrier that did not let even a light breeze through. It was cozy and pleasant. It seemed that the spirits had once again lent a hand to this. Satsuki understood that this could be the effect of the Holy Maiden, which all things and buildings she created or touched acquire. She recalled that even wolves could not cross the boundary until she herself let them in. The girl thought about how the wolf family must be doing in this blizzard. They grew up in these places, so they should be prepared for winter. However, the fate of the little ones still troubled her. As if hearing her thoughts, wolves broke into the protected space inside the barrier. The father apologized for daring to disturb her, but the space was very cold and even dangerous. The old wolf asked for permission to endure the cold and snow inside the barrier. The girl gladly agreed, and Byakuya thought that the saint had created a very strong and sturdy barrier through which even the wind could not penetrate. Satsuki first examined the little ones. After all, they could have suffered the most from the cold. At first glance, they were all right, and no one had any serious injuries. The wolf cubs were happy that they were being petted by the warm hands of the mistress. The girl loved her pets so much that she decided to build a separate little house for them so they could come here without an invitation. The elder wolves asked her not to do this, as they were already uncomfortable being on her territory. The girl ignored them, firmly deciding to create a shelter for her pets and help them survive the winter. Soon she was holding a tablet in her hands and reviewing her own resources. They indicated that she could build a spacious booth for the whole family. Byakuya and his wife did not even know how to thank her for the kindness. The options proposed by the system did not please the little girl very much. She thought that there would not be enough space for such large animals. The little girl believed that something bigger should be done. The stable came to mind. This very building was suitable for favorites of such size. Soon a new wooden stable was built in front of them, warm and cozy inside. The wolves were happy because from now on they would have such a big and spacious little house. Satsuki herself dreamed that the animals would stay to live here. She would not feel lonely, which sometimes did happen to her. Moreover, she will be able to pet them and play with the little ones whenever she wants. Therefore, their stay in the house will be no less necessary for her than for the animals themselves. Together, they will be able to comfortably survive the winter. The kids immediately liked a place for themselves. They even started jokingly arguing, trying to attract the girls' attention to themselves. Satsuki was meanwhile talking with the wolf parents. She promised to help in every way to find food and everything necessary for the animals that would stay with her for the winter. Byakuya was very grateful for the help. The wolf's wife suddenly became alert. She reported feeling someone's approach. Someone wished to visit them, but the barrier's power held back the mysterious guest and did not allow him to enter the yard. The barn door slammed open, and a cold wind burst into the house. It seemed that someone had indeed managed to break through the barrier and summon such a strong wind, letting the bad weather into the yard of the Holy Maiden. The wolves were preparing to repel the uninvited guest, who decided to enter without an invitation. The girl asked the animals to stay inside because a blizzard was raging outside anyway. The unexpected guest turned out to be Mr. Hasashi. He was clearly prepared for this winter hike, as he was dressed warmly and covered in snow. It was evident that he had been making his way through a blizzard. Surely, an important matter had brought him. The man with a smile greeted the girl with the new year. However, it was clear that it was not the desire to greet her that brought him to her hideout. Something secret flickered in the expression of the fox. The wolves rejoiced that they would not have to fight anyone, but Byakuya still regarded the appearance of this uninvited guest with caution. Mr. Hasashi aroused a slight distrust in him. The wolves inquired what exactly brought Mr. Hasashi to their cozy shelter. The man assured that he simply wanted to visit Mrs. Satsuki and see how her days were passing in the winter quarters, and additionally had something important to convey to her. In the fox's hands suddenly, as if from thin air, appeared a huge egg. The wolves became alert. They had already begun to guess what it could be. The magic of this object was very great and unwelcome to them. The children even lost consciousness, as the magic of this object proved to be too powerful for them. The girl picked up the puppies in her arms and carried them to the shed, asking Mr. Hasashi not to come closer, as she did not want her friends to get hurt. She was surprised that Mr. Fox dared to bring such a thing. Satsuki decided to talk to him about it. She asked what has been happening lately. After all, many strange things started happening on the mountain itself. It seemed that some force was interfering. Hasashi simply handed the egg to the girl. She was scared of the sperm, but later calmed down. The egg was warm and pleasant to the touch. It itself did not threaten her, and it was unclear why the wolves reacted that way. The girl meanwhile realized that as soon as she took the egg in her hands, the storm around quieted as if nothing had happened. Hasashi Zoad. He smiled mysteriously again. Such a reaction to the egg clearly pleased him. It was evident that the man knew something but did not dare to tell the girl about it. She thought it could not last like this for long. The fox suggested taking the egg into the house. Satsuki did not really want to bring this thing into the house, She asked what kind of egg it was. Hasashi asked if she really did not guess that she was holding the egg of an ancient dragon. In her past life, it was a common thing for her. The girl looked at him with surprise and asked Hasashi if the egg was really tasty and what could be done with it. The man assured her that it must not be eaten under any circumstances. It was not meant for that. The wolves carefully watched as the storm calmed down. The girl clearly used the offered magical energy to stop the storm and prevent it from destroying her hideout. Byakuya and his wife discussed what had happened today. The wolfman's idea was that the ancient dragon might have finally awakened. This could have caused the blizzard and the powerful magical energy. The she-wolf was afraid for the young lady's life. After all, if it was all true, soon the dragon could bring a mountain of monsters, which had recently been coming into their territory very often to cause some harm. Satsuki meanwhile invited Hasashi to come into the house and have tea with her, since they could not just say goodbye like that. The man had come so far in such bad weather, and he could not be sent off into the cold again. Actually, the girl wanted him to explain where he got that mysterious egg and what she should do with it, since the energy of this object greatly frightened the wolves and made them hide and tremble before it. Hasashi realized that he would not be able to turn away just like that. He was no longer going to leave the girl alone with the mysterious artifact, which she might not be able to handle. The man noticed the object lying in the middle of the room. It was a mattress or something similar. Hasashi wondered what she had planned and how she managed to do it again. Each time the girl surprised him more and more. Satsuki replied that it did not turn out very well, and she would work on it because she did it without the help of a tablet. Working with her hands was not yet as perfect as with the tablet, but Hasashi no longer paid attention to her words. He was interested in how she managed to imbue objects with such a blessing power. The effect of the pillow was very strong. It protected against monsters and granted restoration of strength. The man dared to sit on the cushion and realized that inside was the fur of a white wolf. He also understood that the fur itself scared away monsters, and with the girl's blessing, it was a unique artifact. Satsuki could not understand what exactly she was doing for the blessing to come upon the object. She said that she was not doing anything extraordinary, and the blessings manifested by themselves, to which Hasashi assured that such things do not just happen for no reason. The girl finally dared to ask what the words about the former holy maiden, whom the tablet system increasingly calls her, mean. The fox told about Ignos, the creator of this strange world filled with magic and spirits. Satsuki wondered if Hasashi himself was not the god in this world. He explained that in reality everything is a bit more complicated. He said that he is a god in the real world, in Japan. And in this world, beyond the tunnel, the creator and mighty god is Ignos, who conceived making this world as it is at the moment. In this world, Lady Motezuka was the reincarnation of a holy maiden. That is why the mountain accepted her so easily, and the spirits help in every way, and the items she created are filled with magical energy and blessings. Satsuki replied that she had already suspected something like that, but why exactly she became the embodiment of the holy maiden in this amazing world? Hasashi assured that there is definitely a reason, but he does not know it. The man asked not to blame Ignos herself for this, as he could have forcibly pulled her out of the ordinary world and placed her here, but he did not do so. Instead, he endowed her with extraordinary abilities and offered her to live here. Regarding the egg, Hasashi explained that in a past life the girl was a holy maiden who was close friends with a dragon. It was then that strange bonds were established between them, and her appearance in this world awakened the dragon. When Hasashi visited him to congratulate him on awakening, the dragon gave him the egg and ordered him to deliver it to the girl. Satsuki did not like that the man acted behind her back. Moreover, it was dangerous. The ease with which the man spoke about the dragon irritated the girl. She asked why he had not said a word about it to her. Satsuki was outraged by such secrecy in the actions of her companion. The creature's character was compliant at certain moments. Satsuki asked why he had not warned about the existence of the dragon, which could breathe fire and whose magic could destroy entire worlds. After all, she would have thought long before buying this mountain. The girl felt abandoned. Hasashi calmed her and asked her to simply talk to the ancient dragon when it visits her. Satsuki did not want to accept such a guest at all, but she simply had no other option. The fox also explained that the egg was most likely a beacon to which the ancient dragon would come, and which it would use to overcome the barrier. Although for him it was not an obstacle, he would not even pay attention to it. The girl had already tried to give the egg to him. However, Hasashi was clearly not inclined to take it. Instead, he warned that the dragon could help solve some issues regarding the mountain and its inhabitants. The man asked her to look outside. The weather there was very good. It seemed that the storm that had raged there a few hours ago was just a figment of imagination. He explained that the reason was the egg. delivered to the maiden in time. The dragon, according to him, deliberately caused the storm and forced him to go to the girl's house. Hasashi took up the matter too late. He decided to go on vacation with his family, neglecting the dragon's order. And the dragon deliberately spoiled the weather to force him to take the egg to Lady Satsuki. The girl became more and more angry. She felt helpless and unprepared to resist such a powerful stranger, the dragon. At this point, their conversation ended, and Hasashi rushed out of the house, saying goodbye on the go. He was clearly not inclined to continue talking with the girl whom he had openly deceived during the purchase of the mountain by Ignos's order. She only looked after Hasashi, thinking how such an irresponsible guy could have been a god in that real world. It simply did not fit into the girl's mind. The girl went to visit her favorites. The wolves asked how she was feeling. After all, she had been under the influence of that magical item for so long. It was not that Satsuki reported feeling wonderful. Satsuki promised to keep the egg in the house, where its magical energy could not harm the wolves. The favorites were very grateful for such care. Satsuki asked not to think about what awaits after the dragon appears here. The girl noticed that the weather was much better after the egg got into her hands. In her head, she still could not fully grasp everything she learned from Hasashi. It seemed to her like elements of mythology, but the realities of life forced her to doubt this. She recalled how easily everything worked out for her, and how Hasashi told about the mountain spirits who gladly helped the girl solve household matters. Even the seeds she buried in the ground sprouted. The girl was happy that soon she would be able to make a real garden on her plot. After that, she decided to go visit her favorites. There was only one Shiratake in the barn. She said that Byakuya and the children went hunting, and she stayed because she felt she was expecting another little puppy. Satsuki rejoiced at the pregnancy of the she-wolf. Soon Byakuya and the little ones returned with the prey. They were happy that they managed to hunt the prey. The little one brought a hare and was very happy about it. However, the father of the family really stood out. He dragged a huge bear. The she-wolf and the kids were truly stunned. The son boasted that his father knocked the beast down with one blow and hunted it. The girl realized that the father already knew the news about their future addition. That was exactly why he hunted so much. Satsuki also guessed that part of the prey would be given to her. The girl used the tablet to find out what should be done with the rabbit. The system reported that it was a magical beast, whose horn also had magical properties, and it could also be eaten. Satsuki did not want to process the rabbit by hand, so she decided to use the inventory. She noticed that new items had been added. Perhaps this was related to the fact that she had upgraded all the necessary inventory. Satsuki chose the necessary item, but at the same time explored the new ones. They could only mean that the prey or harvested crop could be exchanged for points or sold to someone to receive funds. It was also possible to use the dispose function to remove all the innards and unnecessary parts of the prey. But at the same time, the new icon on the screen, which meant something mysterious, was intriguing. Before this, Satsuki was supposed to return soon, and now she had prepared rabbit soup and was glad that there was a possibility to provide for herself independently at the moment and not worry about not being able to survive the winter. Satsuki decided to tidy up the area a bit. A she-wolf came out to meet her. The girl did not expect Shiratake to be able to leave the house so quickly. The favorite decided to talk to the girl about spirits. The orphan told that from the very beginning many spirits lived on the yard's territory, which the girl could not see. They were attracted here by the girl's presence and her genuine desire to truly ennoble the mountain. But now there are too many spirits. It has come to the point that they are now arguing about who will have to help her. The spirits are arguing loudly and creating an incredible mess. The girl asked what she should do. The she-wolf hinted that it was necessary to expand the boundaries of the road, and then there would be work for all the spirits. Also, new plants could be planted, which would please both the spirits of the earth and the spirits of light and water. Water spirits loved the pond near the garden, so it is possible to expand it or make additional channels for them to have the opportunity to work on it. Spirits of light have taken a liking to the lanterns. It will be a great honor for them to help expand the barrier and strengthen the perimeter security. Immediately after the conversation, the girl began to arrange the plot. The first thing she decided was to plant trees along the path. And right after that, it became clear that the plants were growing before her eyes. The pond also expanded immediately after the command. The water inside it was rippling, as if someone inside had actively started working. Together with the puppies, and with the support of the water spirits, Satsuki expanded the pond and made a stream from it. She and her favorites rejoiced in the success and could not believe that everything went so well for her this time. And after that, independently, using the tool, the girl began clearing the area of trees and grass. She did not take the puppies with her because they could accidentally get injured by the blades or saw. Winter passed very quickly and the tunnel opened. The girl decided that it was worth taking the opportunity to visit the city to buy the necessary groceries. This time, sweets that had not been on the shelves before caught her attention in the store. So the girl decided to please her favorites with unusual treats. There was also something for Shirotake. Lanterns in the store were sold at a big discount, so the girl did not think long about what exactly to do. She bought lanterns because it would be a new job for the spirits of light and new opportunities for her personally. The trip to the store ended with a tasty lunch outside the home, at a restaurant. Satsuki even forgot that one could eat outside the home and was not used to eating dishes prepared not by her in the kitchen or on the fire. After that, she decided to visit Mr. Hasashi. He was supposed to have already opened his camping site for visitors since the weather allowed it. The man was glad to see the girl and asked how she was doing. He also gave her a letter. The letter was most likely a tax declaration. The girl did not know what to do, but Hasashi came to help. He promised to help solve the issue. The man's smile was too sly when the topic of taxes came up. He was clearly involved in something, but the girl did not know about it. However, she definitely was not going to refuse it. After that, Satsuki was returning home. Right near the tunnel, she got caught in a strong blizzard. The car was hard to control, and the girl was seriously scared. She did not expect such a turn of events. Her surprise knew no bounds when she found herself on the mountain again. Here, the weather was sunny and clear all around. Moreover, the whole mountain was like that, not just the lady's yard. Satsuki guessed that the reason was the egg. Immediately after returning, she took it in her hands and asked it not to do that anymore because she had been distracted for a short time. It was not possible to let snow and bad weather force her to return every time. The egg was actually a transmitter. In his lair, the dragon perfectly heard every word spoken to the egg. He could not say that even a short absence of the girl was like she simply disappeared from this world. The dragon was upset that he lost part of his powers because he had spent a long time in a deep sleep. He really wanted to see Satsuki, but this time he faced a truly difficult task. The blizzard ended. Satsuki decided to visit Shirotake and feed her something tasty, as the young mother needed to consume something healthy and delicious. The girl was confused when she couldn't find the she-wolf. The girl saw that Shirotake had given birth to 3 puppies. Satsuki praised the she-wolf, for she had once again given birth to 3 magical creatures who would maintain the overall order on the mountain. The girl was endlessly joyful. Satsuki also greeted the older puppies on becoming an older sister and older brother, and the girl suggested celebrating such a momentous event, which received general approval. After returning home, Satsuki moved the egg closer to the fireplace. She expected someone to be born from it, but there was also the possibility that it was a beacon that served an ancient dragon. Suddenly a leg appeared from the egg, breaking a piece of the shell. The girl did not expect anyone to come out from there. Her amazement knew no bounds. After all, soon a little dragon could be in her house. The creature turned out to be strange and resembled a small, cute crocodile. The dragon began to whine and wail throughout the house. Satsuki could not even guess how to take care of the little dragon. After the birth of the little dragon, the girl abandoned her mountain chores, as she could not leave with such a small one. Sometimes the dragon asked to be held, where it could only fall asleep. Spring came to the mountains. The dragon helped with the household, and soon Satsuki realized that the little one was very useful. He took on a lot to help. Draconi was born at the same time as 3 wolf cubs in Shirotake. Satsuki definitely did not know what to do with the dragon hatchling. She did not even know whom to ask. It was worth going to Hasashi for advice. From the very beginning, the little one was very loud and mischievous. His cry, according to Byakuya, could be heard at the top of the mountain. Satsuki did not know what to do. Even the tablet could not help with this. Soon, through trial and error, the girl understood what to do. She managed to feed the dragon ordinary cow's milk, after which he stopped whining and screaming. It became clear that he was like an ordinary child. Despite being the child of a great ancient dragon capable of destroying the entire world, the girl decided to raise the dragon because she had already put in a lot of effort and had begun to get used to it. At first, Satsuki carried the dragon on her back in a bag. This way she could work and tidy up on the mountain, and the little one did not bother her. She hoped that soon his wings would grow and he would move independently. Over time, a strange resonance to magic began to be felt from the little dragon. This was neither bad nor good, but the wolf pups and even the adult wolves avoided his company, where they felt unwell. This became the reason why Byakuya and his family returned to their ancient lair on the mountain peak. Satsuki was upset. She wanted to play more with the little wolf pups, so she asked the little one to learn to control his power. Her attention was drawn to the sakura tree she had planted relatively recently. Now it was hard to say that it was planted in winter, as the tree had grown and given its first flowers. Satsuki enjoyed the view. Satsuki's plans were to plant as many fruit trees as possible. The girl planned all this with the expectation that good spirits would help her and be busy with the task, so that their number would increase. Now she hesitated only about how to plant the trees, because if she did it using the tablet, points would be spent. But if she did it with her own strength, points would not be spent. For some reason, she was upset that she had not thought of this earlier. The dragon sensed her state and mood. The girl asked him to calm down and not cry, because when he was sad, he did not control his power. The dragon's appetite also developed according to his increasing size. The cow's milk was running out, and Satsuki had to go to the city to buy more, because besides milk, the little one did not consume anything yet. The girl decided to buy fruits with pits. This way she would get much more planting material. The question of milk storage still needed to be solved, because a large amount of milk needed to be stored somewhere. So Satsuki thought about buying or creating a refrigerator herself using the tablet for storage. But this would be after she planted everything and grew the first harvest. Soon the entire yard area and around it was planted with a garden, and the trees grew at an extraordinarily fast pace. Satsuki could only enjoy watching the plants grow. She became curious where else she could plant a fruit garden. For this, she would use the tablet's help. Behind her, the girl heard a strange rustle. She became a little scared without the wolves, without their protection. Behind her stood Byakuya. He had come to visit the mistress. The wolf asked to forgive the fact that they had returned to their old lair and did not use the house specially built for them by Satsuki. The wolf explained that the magical power and aura of the dragon were too great for them. Even he found it hard to endure, and for the little ones they created a very strong pressure, sometimes making them feel very bad, and they found it hard to bear. The girl asked Byakuya to help explore the territory around the mountain, since the tablet did not show all zones, so the best option was to personally go there and look at the resources that still existed for her. Satsuki, riding on this wolf, traveled through unknown territories. Finally, they reached the foot of the mountain, and before them was a vast space. Satsuki could look at the space before her with wonder. The girl asked if there were still people living here. The wolf could not answer definitively. He told that sometimes he met people who hunted monsters, but he did not know at all where they lived. Satsuki asked the wolf to ride her a little more to inspect the territory on the other side of the mountain. She really wanted to meet someone from the people and help her live and develop. Byakuya warned that the path would be long, so she had to hold on. The wolf began running through the forest very quickly. The frightened Satsuki asked him to be slower, but he did not hear. The wolf knew that he needed to help his mistress, so the girl could only hold on. Soon they arrived at the place, and Byakuya advised to quickly inspect everything to avoid risks. He also asked not to go far from him, because monsters could be nearby. Satsuki was exhausted. She did not know what to do at all and was tired. The girl hugged the wolf and tried to speak calmly with him, but it was hard to control herself after such a journey. Yet she got what she wanted. The girl carefully examined the landscape before her. The view was beautiful. The only thing spoiling it was that part of the forest was black. At first it seemed like fog, but Byakuya explained that it was not right. The wolf said that the cause of this phenomenon, called miasmas, were monsters that emitted dark energy, which spoiled the area and ruined everything around, infecting it with darkness. It is because of the miasmas that nature dies. Along with it, the spirits living in these lands also die. It takes decades, if not hundreds of years, to restore the lands. And it is hard to do it just like that. Efforts must be made for this. Satsuki felt sad when they were directly passing through the Deadlands. She asked the wolf if she could revive everything on her own, as it was before the monsters came. Byakuya could not answer immediately. He had no doubts. He just thought it would be very dangerous. But Satsuki was already holding a tablet in her hands. She felt responsible for reviving these territories. She firmly decided for herself to restore these lands, as they were also her possessions. The wolf advised in that case to stock up on help from spirits and bring some of the good spirits from her yard and settle them here. Many points went to clearing the territory. On top of that, the wood from these lands was not suitable for building anything or for sale. This saddened the girl a little, as it increased the cost of the work. Byakuya advised not to do everything at once. In his opinion, it was worth building a base nearby and then acting thoughtfully from there to revive these lands. The girl thought it was a good idea. This is exactly what Satsuki was doing. She spent a large supply of wood to build a fence around her base. This became the beginning of a great revival of the lands around. Next was the creation of a shed where one could hide from the weather and store necessary equipment. Then a toilet was built, because no matter what, comfort was worth creating for oneself personally. Soon the base on the Deadland was completely ready. Satsuki was happy because this outpost became the first step towards restoring her possessions. Later, they would gradually populate this territory with spirits and revive it. Satsuki thought that it was worth planting the dead lands with special grass, because in this way, spirits of light and water could come here, trying to grow grass and any vegetation. The girl also planned to bring plants and tree seedlings from home. For this, she needed to make a proper road from her permanent house to the base on the dead land. Spirits and favorites would help her with this. The wolf promised that his whole family would help the girl, but there was one special condition for this. He asked that during their visit, the dragons be kept inside and not go outside. Suddenly, they heard the loud cry of the little dragon. The girl asked the wolf to take her home very quickly because she had completely forgotten about the little one, and it needed to be fed to calm it down. The dragon immediately climbed onto the girl's neck. He was well fed and full of strength and energy, so he wanted to play. He loved Satsuki, but the girl did not feel the same way about him. After all, because of him, she lost the company of wolves. It was time to start preparing for the distant exploration of the lands, but the dragon still refused to calm down. He finally agreed to climb into the backpack and not distract the mountain's mistress from her important mission. Satsuki thought that it was worth arranging the house on the dead land with something suitable for cooking and providing warmth. She was still troubled by thoughts of whether there were people on these lands. Mr. Kasashi visited as a guest. The girl asked if she could be of any help to him. Kasashi informed that he had arrived to show the results of his work with the declaration. The man was surprised that the dragon's magical energy was very strong, and even he felt unwell from it during its presence. Satsuki explained that she was also forced to send the wolves away from the house. The girl asked Hasashi to go and deal with the little dragon, whose magical energy frightened everyone around. Even her friends had to retreat to their lair because they couldn't withstand the magical energy. The man tried to appeal to the dragon nicely, but it paid no attention to his words. Meanwhile, the girl was curious about what could be done with the little one. Hasashi leaned towards him and warned that he would tell the master everything. Satsuki asked if it was possible to name the dragon, and if that would mean it would become her familiar. The man agreed that the dragon would definitely become a familiar. But whether the girl herself wants that is the question. But the mistress of the mountain was still hesitating. She wanted to keep him for herself, but now she hesitated. After all, taking care of him was too difficult. But Hasashi asked her to hold off on the final decision until a later time. The man emphasized that with just its appearance, the dragon would scare all the monsters around. So now Satsuki began thinking about what name to give the little dragon. Many names she suggested did not please the little one, so she proposed that Mr. Kasashi himself choose a suitable nickname for him. He assured that this was her task alone, and no one would do it instead of her. Satsuki named him Noir. Immediately after that, the creature shone with a strange light and began to speak to the girl. The mountain's owner herself could not believe that everything happened so quickly. She suggested to the dragon to be friends, since they already understood each other perfectly. Satsuki emphasized that she could use his fire to cook some dishes, but that would be much later. Hasashi was surprised by such a proposal. Then he remembered that there was nothing to cook on in the girl's house. Gas had not been learned to be used in this world. The fox was sure that Igno simply copied such a kitchen design from outside. The girl explained that at the moment she was using a portable stove, and it was enough for her so far. But soon she would have to cook much more and should think about something more comfortable and suitable. Hasashi suggested she use a magical stove. It worked on the energy of magical stones, and even people with a low mana reserve could use it. From the very beginning, it was made for tourists and adventurers. However, it turned out to be very convenient to use, and it began to be used even in aristocrats' kitchens, so Satsuki would not regret her choice. The girl reported that she had a magical stone. She obtained it after Yuki hunted a magical hare, so the matter remained to buy a magical stove and start using it. But Hasashi warned that they could not do this yet. After all, it was necessary to use the local currency here, and in general, it was still very early to do this. Moreover, the magical stove was very expensive. The man assured that it could only be bought in large cities, and he did not know the way to them. In general, he was poorly oriented in this area, poorly knew it. Satsuki asked in that case to give her a map. He replied that the girl could download a detailed map of the area onto her tablet. Thus, she would be able to build a route for the journey. It remained to determine whether there were enough additional points for this. Satsuki took out the tablet to check the information, and she saw a strange thing. The number of points was growing, while the girl was doing nothing. Hasashi explained that the reason for this was the large number of spirits on her territory. The girl attracted spirits with her actions. They, in turn, processed water and soil, thereby enriching the number of points. As long as the spirits were on her plot and on the mountain in general, her points would be produced by themselves. The girl asked her friend to tell her what she could use to travel from her house to the territory of abandoned lands, since she would feel sorry to ruin a car, and it was inconvenient to ask the wolf every time. Satsuki agreed that she could use the motorbike. Besides, it was a great idea, and Hasashi assured that he would help her resolve this matter. He had the right acquaintance for this business. The next day, Satsuki received her scooter. Hasashi explained that the daughter of his biker acquaintance bought a car and was just about to sell the scooter, so he immediately took it for himself. Besides, there was nowhere to keep it. The man said that they would deduct the cost of the scooter from her future salary. The girl agreed to this proposal. She was already eager to try out the vehicle in practice. Hasashi handed her the usual small package of groceries. Satsuki thanked him, but she was more interested in the fact that there were pits and seeds in the fruits and vegetables, and she could plant something else. The fox did not immediately understand what was being talked about, but then he guessed that the mistress of the mountain was specially growing the plant from seeds. Soon he was standing in front of a tall tree that had grown from the seed of a fruit. Hasashi could not believe that this had succeeded. After all, under normal circumstances, it is simply impossible to do. The girl assured that this is only possible in this world, and that only thanks to the spirits and her blessing. The dragon meanwhile slept in the house. He felt no need for worries. The hostess's concerns did not affect him yet. Satsuki started preparing the road from her house to the camp on the abandoned lands. She decided to do everything by hand to earn extra points. She also hoped that the spirits would add points. Behind her, strange sounds resembling laughter were heard. The girl looked back but saw no one nearby. She called out, thinking someone was mocking her and hiding close by. Suddenly, fireflies swirled around her. Only later did she realize that they were entities, spirits. They wanted to make contact with her. The girl stopped being afraid because she understood that they were good spirits. Satsuki sat down by the spring. She decided to rest because she heard loud sounds of laughter nearby. Probably she was too tired. Meanwhile, the spirits sat by the water and laughed cheerfully. They were already tired of arguing about which of them Lady Satsuki preferred. Now they all came to the conclusion that they should help her put things in order. The girl, meanwhile, rejoiced at the appearance of a body of water nearby. After all, it was here that she could make another garden. The girl was happy like a child. She felt that it was from this place that the restoration of the abandoned lands would begin. For the second day, Satsuki conducted experiments around the plants. Within the enclosure, which became the girl's base on the abandoned lands, the plants developed normally and quickly grew strong. But beyond the camp, the land was cursed and poisoned by the miasma of monsters. Even the hardiest plants could not grow outside her camp. Unfortunately, she could not spread her blessing. Satsuki did not give up and continued conducting experiments. She took soil from the garden and planted a plant in a pot with it outside the camp. This was to play a decisive role in further cultivation. Her guess turned out to be completely correct. As soon as the soil was changed, plants even outside the camp began to grow and develop rapidly. This meant that the land could be restored without using additional points. The plants that the girl planted outside the temporary camp were fruit trees, which she sprouted from seeds. They not only bore fruit, but also purified the soil around them. So Satsuki began to think whether they might help cleanse the soil of corruption and improve it in this way. Faithful spirits would also come to her aid, in which she had no doubt. And as if hearing her thoughts, the spirits came. They danced like fireflies around her, and Satsuki watched them with delight. She felt pleased to know she was not alone in her endeavors, and that her work was valued and respected. Since then, Satsuki began eating plums and planting the pit from them. Hasashi could look at this very wildly, but the plants in this case would be needed not for the sake of the fruits, but for cleansing the miasmas of the surrounding land. The girl was surprised when spirits around her began to laugh and speak. She was truly frightened until the mighty voice of Byakuya sounded nearby, ordering the spirits to leave and not to bother her. Vovk asked his lady if she was all right and how she was feeling. Satsuki had never been so happy in the company of Vovk. In her joy, she wanted to hug him, but she could not allow herself to do so. The spirits begged to be forgiven. They were just very happy to see their mistress. But now they felt very embarrassed because they had scared her and prevented her from continuing her work. Byakuya asked if the girl had started seeing spirits. She confirmed his suspicion, only noting that she not only saw them, but mostly heard them. However, she did not mind their company. The girl was glad to have discovered a new skill. The girl decided to clear living space for them, and cleared a plot of land. She heard the spirits talking nearby. They were delighted that Satsuki treated them with respect and decided to help. The doozy continued to call her their lady, to which Satsuki asked them to address her by name, as she felt embarrassed by how they bowed to her. The girl was not used to familiarity. Finally, the gates of her temporary camp appeared. It was there that she, with the spirit helpers, could rest and relax. Byakuya was glad to have helped his lady through this difficult path and provide feasible assistance. Satsuki entered through the wide gates accompanied by the doozy and the wolf. They sensed a strange smell but could not determine its source. This caused some discomfort, and the girl was confused. Her attention was drawn to a puddle in the middle of the yard. Most likely it was water. But how did it get there? Could the spirits have managed to drill a well and bring water here? Satsuki pondered. After returning home, the girl installed solar panels and connected all the necessary devices to them. Now she had a refrigerator installed, and Satsuki could store food there, further increasing her provisions. The spirits helped even here and constantly accompanied the girl. Her attention was drawn to a cherry tree. It had been planted quite recently but was already bearing fruit. The cherries were very large and juicy, but there was a problem. The tree turned out to be very tall. Satsuki realized that she needed to buy a small ladder since she would soon need to work on the roof anyway. So the next step would be to purchase the necessary equipment. To discuss the details of daily life, the girl decided to turn to Hasashi, since she could not bring a ladder in her small car. When she went to get the keys, she heard the loud patter of small paws. That was Noir. He ran to the housekeeper. The girl explained that she had to leave for a while. She did not want to take him with her, but the dragon begged to be taken along, as he could not bear her absence. Satsuki explained that she could not do that. After all, magical creatures are not allowed to enter the human world. So this time he would have to stay home alone. The girl thanked her for understanding. At the end, the dragon said that he felt the approach of a great dragon, so he would stay home in case an unknown guest arrived, and Satsuki had to return home as soon as possible. Already at Hasashi's camp, the girl loudly began to talk about what she had learned about the approach of the great dragon. The man asked her not to speak so loudly about the great dragon, as she might scare people. Satsuki paid no attention. She asked Hasashi what the great dragon looked like from the outside. After all, she had to prepare for his visit despite his own motives. This creature was supposed to be simply gigantic. The fox asked if the girl had seen that new movie about the huge monster. It was about Godzilla, but the girl had only seen the trailer. Even from it, she understood the scale of the dragon. But its peculiarity is that the great dragon has wings and can fly. Hasashi convinced her that she should just send a message to the little dragons that she was not yet ready for a visit from such a guest, and the great dragon would suffer and postpone his arrival at the mountain to visit the reincarnated holy maiden. The man added that the great dragon could change his size and even alter his appearance for greater comfort. The girl thanked him for the advice. She asked if Hasashi could help her buy and deliver a ladder to the mountain. After all, the girl could not bring a ladder by car. The fox assured her that everything would be fine. Hasashi asked if the girl had thought about buying a small cargo truck. She said that if the man managed to find a used vehicle, she would gladly buy it. On a motorcycle, Satsuki reached her camp on the abandoned lands. After her visit, many things had changed around. Trees and grass were returning to this place, previously affected by the miasma of monsters. On the territory of the camp itself, the girl saw phenomenal plant growth. But now it was worth paying more attention to the trees and seedlings outside her camp. There she clearly saw where the boundary of the estates passed. When she manages to grow plums from the pits, there will be a real plum alley here, and Kasashi will be amazed when he sees the result of her work. The girl was so captivated by what was displayed on her tablet that she did not even notice a stranger watching her from behind a tree. His gaze was ominously evil and promised nothing good. The stranger came out of his hiding place. His motives were bad, as he did not respond to her greeting. He carefully examined the girl and hoped he would manage to catch her. The girl realized that it was worth running away. After all, if the man's intentions were not evil, he would not have hidden. The stranger tried to shout to her, but Satsuki could not understand anything. The girl understood that under no circumstances could she fall into the hands of this stranger. Meanwhile, the girl also thought about the evil, mad look of the man who was staring at her. Satsuki tried to run away and did not stop or even look back. She felt that the man was already stepping on her feet. Finally, she found herself inside her camp. The first thought was to start the motorcycle and escape on it far away from this place. After all, the man might not be alone in this place and could have called someone for help. She was met by Haku and Yuki. The beasts asked her what had happened. After all, she looked worried and was barely standing on her feet from running fast. The wolves tried to make out the stranger who had so frightened their friend. They did not notice him immediately. The man stood high on the cliff and carefully watched what was happening below. The girl asked her friends if the cause could be the barrier formed by her plantings. Meanwhile, the stranger was striking the invisible barrier. Yuki guessed that the man was trying to break through the defense. His strong fists hit the obstacle with force. The wolves rushed at the enemy. They could not allow him to break through to the middle. It was better to stop the enemy at the approaches to the place. When the stranger saw that he would have to deal with wolves, he fled without hesitation. Chasing him was not the right thing to do, and the wolf cubs stayed close to the hostess. The girl thanked for the rescue. She once again realized that meeting them was truly a stroke of luck. But the wolves were more curious about where people even came from in these places. After all, they had never encountered them before. The boy mentally analyzed and recalled everything his father had told him. People were supposed to live much farther from these places. But the girl was not supposed to know this. The father ordered silence so as not to scare her. Satsuki asked the wolves to lead her to the little house. The wolf pups even found it fun to do so, as they knew they would run alongside the motorcycle and play who was faster and who would reach the house first. In the evening, Satsuki thought about what Hasashi had said, that there were no people in this world. But she met these savages here today. At the same time, he said that the magic plate could be bought right in this world. So either someone did not tell her everything to the end, or there was really something wrong with this world as it should be. She also remembered how the stranger tried to break through the obstacle. There was no time to delay. Her thoughts were interrupted by Noir. He asked what his mistress was thinking about. She told him about her worries. The dragon boasted that no one would come here while he lived and protected this place. Satsuki thought about how she could build an additional barrier. After all, she no longer had seedlings with her. She also could not build a wooden barrier. The system issued a message that there was a simpler option for building an obstacle on the enemy's path. It was an ordinary fence that required fewer resources, and the installation was much simpler. Satsuki realized that this was the most suitable option. From the very beginning, she was ready to put a fence around the clearing, and then it would stretch along the entire road to the temporary base in the Fallen Lands. In a day, she managed to build the fence along the entire path. Satsuki was glad that she could do it with such ease. Soon she found herself in front of the gates of the secret base. The girl was already inside her temporary base. But although there was protection around, she could not feel calm in this place. After all, the stranger could sneak in here during her absence. Behind her stood Byakuya, which greatly frightened the girl. He asked if he could stay here, since his son had told him yesterday about what happened with that strange person who attacked the holy girl without understanding it. Satsuki told about the fact that a stranger scared her. He was chasing her. That is why she decided to build a defense along the entire way to her temporary base. After all, she does not want to abandon this work halfway. Wolf promised that he would always be by her side. And at the same time, he would look for where the stranger could have come from and whether he brought anyone here. After all, unpleasant surprises were not wanted. They spent the whole day in that strange place. Wolf asked if it was time for them to return. He also offered to keep the girl company on the road. Satsuki was very grateful for the kindness and understanding. Since that day, Satsuki began to constantly travel her lands accompanied by young wolves. They boasted to each other about their strength and valor, and told how they would deal with the enemy. Their conversation, as well as the journey, was interrupted by strange sounds. It turned out to be thunderclaps, so the trip had to be stopped in order to quickly get home and avoid bad weather. The rain started immediately after returning home. Satsuki and the dragon looked out the window. They did not know what to do. The dragon suggested sleeping and resting. The girl agreed, but they did not manage to do so. A car drove up to the house. It was Mr. Hasashi. He shouted through the downpour that he wished a good morning. The man added that he brought a ladder, but in this world beyond the tunnel, he was caught by bad weather. Soon he was sitting at the table together with the dragon. For some unknown reason, Noir really liked the man's company. The little one had fun being with him and was simply a fan of him. The fox added that he found a good option for a light cargo vehicle they had talked about that time. The man suggested going right now to inspect the equipment so as not to postpone it. The girl thought it over. She was worried that the budget would be an obstacle to the purchase, but the man assured that everything would be fine with that, and such good things sell out very quickly. On the way to the cargo vehicle, Satsuki told about her encounter with the wild man. She recounted everything in the smallest details, and Hasashi could not believe that someone from humans could live in that place. The girl said that she decided to surround the whole mountain with a barrier and is currently working on it. She will not worry about this soon, because Byakuya with his wolf cubs is always nearby. And soon Noir will grow up too. Soon a great ancient dragon is to come to everything, and the number of those wishing to get to the mountain will become even fewer. So it is worth just holding on a little and not despairing. Hasashi silently agreed with this idea. Byakuya carefully observed from the cliff. Not even rain and bad weather, which soaked him to the bone, stood in his way. Below, a group of men was leading beast children into the cave, chained together. Some of the men were unloading a heavy cart. The children were also sitting on the cart. Some of them were to be taken further. The faces of the children were tired and exhausted. They were suffering. They were forced to work in the cave, using cheap labor. Byakuya could not believe that such types could live in this place. It was worth warning Satsuki about the presence of such characters on her mountain. After all, they could soon visit her with a sudden raid. Ignos was talking with Hasashi. The deity could not believe that so many years had passed since reincarnation, that the girl could not even remember the language she once spoke fluently. And most importantly, she forgot about the savages. The spirit also asked to give the girl an ear cuff so that the girl could freely speak and understand the language used by people in that world. Moreover, he developed a special app for the tablet. Soon the ancient dragon was also to visit there, and Ignis was worried about how that meeting would take place. Their main task at this stage was to prevent conflict between them. Soon, Hasashi again came to visit the girl. He explained how to use the cuff and told about the preparation of a special app for language translation. Around the corner of the house stood a cargo vehicle. The girl could not believe that Hasashi bought it for almost nothing. After all, it was a good car. The man assured that they would resolve all issues. The fox assured that it was a thank you for the risk. The girl was confused. She wanted to say that it was too small a price for the risk when there are plenty of monsters, dragons, and strange types behaving aggressively around. After Hasashi left, the girl was already about to go install the missing part of the fence. She did not want to take the dragon with her, but he insisted on it. Unexpectedly for her, the dragonet flew up, and the girl realized that it already knew how to fly. She was glad because there was no longer a need to carry it on her back in a bag. It would be easier for her now. Byakuya carefully watched Lady Satsuki's house. He ordered Haku to always stay by her side. He did not want to do this because the dragon's magical aura was simply unbearable. But the father's order was more important. An armed group of people was walking through the valley. Their guide was the same man who dared to attack the girl, from whom Byakuya saved her. The stranger's intentions were definitely not good, as they were all armed. The wolves carefully watched the movement of this detachment. It was clear that the savages, whoever these people were heading to Mount Satsuki. They would try to find her and take her with them. Yuki, meanwhile, was telling about the reconnaissance results of the human camp. There were a few men left there, so they could attack them. They would defeat such an enemy on their own, no need to worry. But first, it was worth dealing with those people who were already preparing to break the barrier with hammers or hands near the temporary camp. They were setting up equipment and preparing to blow up the obstacle. Byakuya assured that if these people did not pay attention to them and their young lady, he would leave them alone. But when they behave so aggressively, he simply has no other option. At his command, the entire pack of wolves rushed down the slope to deal with the scoundrels and drive them away from the lands of Satsuki and the mountain. For the safety of the children, Byakui and Shirotake was also at stake. The men were so busy with work that they did not immediately notice a pack of wolves running towards them. They were so confident in their impunity that they did not even post guards or sentries. Already when the wolves were very close, then they began to run away. Some tried to resist, but could do nothing in the confusion that arose immediately after the wolves' attack. Sasuke was just walking with Noir at that time, and they heard a strange scream. The girl did not immediately understand what it was. The dragon asked if some strange birds could be singing. The girl assured that birds do not sing like that. The dragon communicated telepathically with Haku. He asked the wolf cub to convey to Byakui a request to mask the smell of blood so as not to scare Satsuki. And it is worth activating soundproofing, as the girl already suspects something. Finally, the fence installation was completed. The girl planned to go have dinner and celebrate the completion of the barrier around her temporary camp. The dragon fully supported her. Yuki leaned over one of the wolf pups. She carefully smoothed it. The poor thing was injured during the battle with humans, but at first glance his wounds were not very critical. However, the little one was suffering. Byakuya did not know how to respond to this. For him, it remained a mystery how some of the bandits managed to resist the power of the magical wolves that attacked so suddenly. Satsuki was gathering the blueberry harvest before dinner. The berries really grew large and tasty. Once again, the girl was very grateful to the spirits for their help in growing fruits and vegetables. Noir was enjoying the blueberries. The girl initially asked him to help gather them, but the little one soon forgot about it and simply enjoyed the tasty fruits, ignoring Satsuki. Meanwhile, the girl decided to check the mulberry planting she had made on the other side of the stream. She was almost there when Byakuya suddenly passed behind her. The wolf landed behind her suddenly. The girl was frightened. Without unnecessary warnings, the wolf asked her to transfer power to him and grant a blessing. There was no time to explain what it was all for. The only thing he told was that Yuki's husband was wounded in battle and needed help, and if he was not helped soon, he could die from the wound. The wolf asked Satsuki to go with him so that she herself could heal the wolf. Their own powers turned out to be insufficient for this. On top of that, they could not understand at all what they were dealing with. On the spot, Satsuki asked Yuki how her husband was doing. The she-wolf complained of feeling unwell. She could do nothing with the wound. Yesterday it was a light injury, but overnight everything changed. The wolf was suffering. The girl said that first it was worth washing the wound. The wounded one lunged at her. He was in pain, and he did not want anyone else to touch his wound. But Byakuya pressed him to the ground with his powerful paw and ordered him to obey the lady's orders. Yuki's husband had no other choice but to comply. Only adult wolves remained from Satsuki. The young ones moved farther away and were engaged in reconnaissance. Some of them stood guard nearby to prevent the remnants of the humans from returning. The wounded man was still lying on the ground. He felt better, but he was still suffering. Noir flew to the road. He asked to try feeding the wolf with the blueberries the girl had gathered earlier. At her own risk, Satsuki thrust her hand with the fruit straight into the sheep's throat. It was risky, and she could have been seriously injured or even lost her hand if it had started to panic. In a moment, the wolf was completely healed. He showed no symptoms of injury and behaved perfectly healthy. Satsuki could not believe that the blueberries in this world had such miraculous power. Noir explained that the real reason was that they were blessed by her power, and therefore have such an effect. Byakuya interrupted the conversation. He asked to help the other wounded and injured. It was necessary to enter the dark cave. The wolf asked the lady to use the help of the spirits of light, since it was very dark inside and she might not see anything there. The girl was aware of the risk of descending into the cave. A beam of light floated in the air beside them. The girl carefully examined everything around. It made her think that this cave was made by the hands of people or someone similar to them. This cave was not natural. A strange smell kept bothering her. It smelled like something incomprehensible, and that made her start to get nervous. In front of her stood gates made of wood like a wolf. Behind them, a strange noise was heard. It seemed as if someone was crying and loudly shouting, begging for help. It sounded like children's voices and pleas. The room was full of children. They had animal ears and looked very exhausted. Some lay on the floor, others sat with their backs against the wall. They could not be here by their own will, and it was clear they had been here for a long time. The girl could not watch them without pain in her soul. She asked if the wolf could break the cage. He assured her that there would definitely be no problem with that, and asked his lady to step back. With a powerful strike, Byakuya broke the cage where the beast children were sitting, who looked at the guest with surprise and fear, not understanding what fate awaited them now, but it certainly could not be worse. The children were frightened. They did not understand what Satsuki was telling them, and the girl herself did not realize it for a long time. The wolf carefully watched around, as the robbers could be nearby. The girl guessed that it was worth using the cuff, after which her communication with the prisoners improved. The children calmed down a little, but still regarded the person in front of them with fear. Someone braver asked if she was really Fenrir's mistress. The girl told about the true relationship between her and the wolf. It was hard to believe, but the werewolves gradually trusted Satsuki. The girl who first made contact was named Gazu, and now Satsuki was asking Gazu to help organize others so that they could enter the temporary base area. They needed to move quickly. At the exit of the Gaza cave, she stopped. She reported that she simply could not leave the cave. Voviki said that it could have been the effect of the seal of subjugation. Because of this, the beast might have been bound to this place. Byakuya explained that the seal could be removed, but in that case the spellcaster would understand and feel that someone had removed his seal, so the decision should really be left to Satsuki. He promised to protect her to the end. The girl werewolf began to worry. She told that they were promised to be given to the slave trader. All the captives were specially brought to this place, and from here the slave trader was supposed to take them all. Satsuki acted decisively. She removed the seal of subjugation from all the slaves. The girl fed everyone with the remains of blueberries so the children would gain strength and refresh themselves. It was soon time to set off on the road. The girl on the wolves asked everyone not to fall behind. Gazu and her companions did not want to ride the wolves. Blueberry gave them strength, so they would just run after the wolves. Riding on Fenrir was too much for them. Byakuya assured that everything would be fine with them, as beastmen are much more resilient and enduring than ordinary humans. They will not suffer on the way, as their strength is much greater than that of ordinary humans. On the way, Satsuki thought about where all the bandits and slave traders could have gone, since the cave looked as if it had only just been abandoned, but she did not want to think about it at all. Below, other wolves from the pack were waiting for her and the wolf. The girl was surprised why they did not enter, but sat in front of the barrier. Satsuki guessed that only Yuki could get to the middle of the camp. Others should be invited. Byakuya reported that there was a need to give names to the entire pack of white wolves. Otherwise, they would not be able to fully stand guard and perform their duties. The girl realized that sooner or later this would happen. She named her partner Yuki Snow. Vovki liked it very much. He and his beloved simply radiated with happiness and were glad and grateful to the young lady for her support and saved life. The matter with the wolves was settled. From now on, they could freely move through the lands of Satsuki. But the girl did not know what to do with the children. The elder wolf advised giving them permission to move. Byakuya also said that if any of them suddenly had a malicious intent, the barrier would throw them out and just leave them there. Satsuki clearly understood that the moment had come to meet the kids and make friends. The second Gazu was named Theo. He looked most like a small beastman and practically radiated energy. The girl with white hair was named Katarina Extello, and her friend was called Sally. The girls were very grateful for the rescue. Hope shone in their eyes. Finally, the group entered the territory of the temporary camp. Satsuki pointed to the spring and the shed. There, the children could drink water and rest from the journey, while she would take care of everything else in the meantime. First of all, it was necessary to prepare clothes and bedding for the children. Byakuya had to use his strength to move a bathhouse to this strange place so the children could bathe. Satsuki decided to bathe the girls first. She liked taking care of them, and they did not mind bathing in warm, pleasant water. After all, some of them had not seen water for a long time and were dirty. The girls looked more like little princesses after the bathhouse. They couldn't believe they were freed from captivity and treated so well. For them, Lady Satsuki became a guardian angel. It was more difficult with the boys. They were fussy and silly throughout the entire bathing, but they were also pleased with the bathing and the warm water, the feeling of cleanliness and care. Soon all the children were bathed and slept right on the floor, as it was much more familiar to them. Satsuki was happy with the results of her work. She lay down on Byakuya and thanked him for the support. He only assured her that he would always be by her side. And now she should surrender to the will of sleep and rest, for there is still much ahead.